Well, good evening and welcome to this career services workshop entitled Creating a Better LinkedIn Profile. My name is Jason Eckert and I serve as the Executive Director of Career Services. And I'm thrilled to have such a great turnout tonight, as well as two amazing employer partners who are here as our guest presenters for the evening. Before I turn things over to Cait and Chris from DHL, let me talk a little bit about the guidelines for any Aviate program in order for you to receive that path point. As a reminder, you must be logged in with your own authenticated UD Zoom account to earn the path point. Unless invited to go off mute, please do remain on mute in terms of having your microphone on mute. You must be logged in on your own, so we can't give a path point to a number of you in one room. So please do be logged in individually, and you must have your camera on and remain active during the course of the session. Now, we fully welcome your questions during the session. And so you can type those into the chat, and I'll be monitoring the chat along with Jamie from Career Services, and we can chime in with questions throughout the course of the next hour. One final reminder, this is the second time that we've offered this topic this year, and you can only receive a path point one time for each workshop with the same name. And so because of that, if you were with us for this exact titled workshop, but with different presenters back in the fall, know that you can only receive a path point for one event that you go to as opposed to going to the same event more than one time. With that, it's my great pleasure to introduce two of my colleagues from DHL Supply Chain, and I'm so excited to have you hear from them during the course of the next hour. So I'm going to turn things over to Chris Kitchen and to Cait Flickinger. I think Cait is first.
Yes, thank you, Jason. Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Cait Flickinger, and I am a college recruiter with DHL Supply Chain. I have been with the company for about 3 years, and today I'm joined by Chris. Chris, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, Chris Kitchen. I'm Senior Director of Talent Acquisition with DHL Supply Chain.
So to get started, we wanted just to give you guys a quick overview of who we are at DHL Supply Chain, so that way you can understand when we're talking about, what we look for in a LinkedIn profile and what I may look for as a college recruiter, some background to the context of the type of roles that we would be looking to fill. So at DHL Supply Chain, we are a third-party logistics company. In fact, we're the world's largest. And basically what that means is we're providing different supply chain solutions and services across the supply chain to help benefit the outsourcing for our customers. So when we have a customer come to us, we will assist them with anything from helping lay the foundation of efficient supply chain about how the goods should move through it, to partnering with them during manufacturing. About 60 to 70% of what we actually do is within warehousing and distribution, and then all the way through to the return services. So we will customize any solution for all of our customers. And for us in the next 5 to 10 years, there's going to be a lot of focus on digitalization. As the market leader in the industry, we want to make sure that we're the leader and really ultimately a disruptor to the way in which business gets done, to make sure that we're staying kind of on the cutting edge of our competition. So I mentioned customers a couple different times, and on the next slide here, we have just a couple of different companies. And when I say a couple, I truly just mean a small amount of companies that we work with. We have over 400 locations across the US and Canada. And so this is really just a small snapshot of the different companies we work with. We do organize all of our customers into industry verticals or sectors. And as I mentioned, most of the time we are offering distribution services to these customers. So for example, if you were in, or if you went to the grocery store and you bought Kraft mac and cheese, I don't know about you guys, but that was a staple of my diet when I was in college. We actually helped get that Kraft mac and cheese to the shelves of the store that you were purchasing them from. On the flip side of that, with retail, if you've ordered anything off of ASOS or Nike or Patagonia.com in the past couple of years, more than likely that has come out of the e-commerce warehouses that we run for those individual companies all across the country, actually. So ASOS is in Atlanta, Nike's in Memphis, and Patagonia is in Northeast Pennsylvania. I'm not going to continuously go through all of these sectors, but I do want to jump down and talk about life sciences and healthcare real quick, as obviously that's a huge topic in the world currently. And you see Pfizer there, that is a long-term customer of DHL, and we are partnering with them globally to help with the rollout of their vaccine. But even before then, when COVID-19 was hitting, first and foremost, all of our warehouses were still functioning. We were working through the pandemic as an essential business, but we also were partnering with different companies like Zimmer Biometrics that manufacture PPE. So we will ship the product of our customer wherever it needs to go to make sure that it's getting to the right place in the right amount of time. So now that we've gone over a little bit about us and kind of what we do, I'm going to pass it over to Chris, and he's going to kind of introduce how LinkedIn could potentially help you as a student while you're looking for a job.
Thanks, Cait. I appreciate it. And welcome, everybody. By all means, feel free to place any comments or thoughts in the chat as we go through, and that'll be monitored, and we'll stop and take any of those questions that you have as we go through. Hopefully something piques the interest, and ultimately we hope that whatever we share with you, it does help you out, and it helps you with your profile going forward. So just the quick call out, it's no longer enough to simply have a social or a solid resume. Students now need their professional presence online. And even though we're going to be talking a lot about LinkedIn right now, I do want to make a call out to the TikTok, Facebook, Instagram of the world, because even though LinkedIn is that professional area where you're going to put your best brand forward, those other platforms are platforms that some companies may look at when they're looking to evaluate an individual for their organization. I can tell you as a DHL associate and as the individual over the recruiting for North America, we do not use those. Those are not part of our hiring process, but it is something that's very important. I think that you guys really are aware and do take into consideration that you have things locked down, that you're posting appropriately. Because if you do a Google search, your name may pop up, and you don't want the first thing to pop up to be something that maybe you posted 5 years ago that probably wasn't showing the best you that you could be, and you really want the best thing to show up to be your LinkedIn profile. So as we walk through this, kind of keep those things in mind, but we'll make sure that we highlight some of these professional aspects in LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is really that one platform that's used for networking and really used for an opportunity to research companies, as well as really spread your brand out on the internet. Most jobs, and this is a 60 to 80% of jobs are never posted online. I can tell you a majority of our jobs are posted online, but there are some companies that do a ton of just internal moves and never post. We do a lot of internal movement inside the organization, but we also post a lot of our roles to make sure we have exposure out there. So why is that important to know that 60 or 80% of those jobs are never posted online? Because somebody's probably going to get the job because they know someone. They've had that network, and you can see here where that one person, being you in the center, will span out and touch 4 people and touch 16 people and touch 24 people, and it extends and extends and extends. We're going to talk through how does that networking start. So if you haven't started your LinkedIn profile, how do you start? And how do you start gaining? We're going to talk through that a little bit. And then we're going to give you a couple options on how to practice as we walk through them. So the benefits are this really gives you that opportunity to have professional online presence. And it also allows you to connect and meet with alumni and or some of the warm contacts that you prefer to have in your network. One of the things that I often tell people is don't accept every single LinkedIn request that comes your way, because as you're building your own brand, you also want to make sure you're connected to individuals that you want as part of your network, and individuals that you know that you can reach out to, you can have conversations with, you can have group discussions with, you can ask for feedback. Have those individuals that really can mean something to you, and then also have kind of that next layer and that next fringe of individuals and LinkedIn contacts that you can utilize in other ways as well. LinkedIn also provides you an opportunity to research companies and their career paths. So going into a career fair, what I often will tell individuals is you're standing in line or you're waiting in a waiting room now in the virtual space. Make sure that if you're going to interact with somebody from that organization, actually research the company. You can see here on the right-hand side, this is just a screenshot from our LinkedIn page. And you're going to see different areas down here, the homepage, my company, about the company, any kind of posts that have actually occurred on LinkedIn are going to be layered and in there for you to look at. The jobs. Most jobs are scraped from different applicant tracking systems and they automatically go into LinkedIn. There are also some jobs that actually get posted on LinkedIn because they get paid for or they're sponsored. There's a section here for life. And this is just kind of an overview of, what an organization really wants you to know about them. So for us, we'll have sustainability, our diversity initiatives, our military recruiting, as well as some testimonials from some of our past college recruits are actually on our life page as well. It also gives you an opportunity to look at some of the people that are at the organization and those individuals that you might want to reach out to and expand your network. And then finally, you'll see some basic insights and or videos about the organization as well. So take advantage of that first page of a company's profile to really click into and get to know the organization a lot better for yourself. We often will tell individuals that as you're researching for, yes, a job, but you're also researching for what's really the right fit for me. What are the values? How does it measure up to me as a person? Because I want to be able to stay with that organization for a period of time as well. So now we're actually going to go into building that better profile. So what does that look like? So you'll actually see on the right-hand side, you'll actually see what is a PDF version, and I'll send this to Jason so you guys can send it out later on. But this will give you kind of the step-by-step on the items within your LinkedIn profile that you probably should and could actually update. LinkedIn, for those of you that may or may not already have yours set up, it does allow you to put in videos. It allows you to upload projects and project work that you're actually want to be proud of and actually show off to potential employers. I think a lot of individuals that may be in the marketing or communications world specifically, they could upload their work and have that as part of their resume or part of their LinkedIn profile as an example. You'll also see the link here that we'll also send out as well that will provide you the opportunity to also go to the PDF. So we're going to break into each one of these separately. You'll see multiple areas here where we're talking about how do you place your name in there, what type of photo should you have, what's the headline, what do you want people to know and see when they first click on your link. Your background image, what does that say about you? Really, again, you're looking at customizing your LinkedIn profile as your extended brand. When somebody lands on this, when a recruiter lands on it, or someone from another organization lands on your profile page, what are you saying about yourself? What is your professional image, your professional brand? So a couple of things. We don't want you just to leave it as the default. Again, provide some personality, and we'll show you some of those areas to actually make those changes. Let everyone know who you are. So again, it's not just your name, but you're going to call out in the headline, you're a engineer seeking employment, or you're an industrial engineer focusing on, whatever it may be. You can always add those type of pieces of information at the top so it catches someone's eye as they look at it, whether it be a recruiter or, again, someone from within your network. If you're seeking a job, LinkedIn has now joined the let's use a frame, if you will, option that allows you to change your profile picture to a open to work hashtag. So you can put that on there as well. Again, it's just a visual for a recruiter and or for somebody at an organization to see, hey, this is somebody that is looking for an opportunity. That's something that it's a little different than the open to opportunities tab that you used to be able to click through and add to your profile in the past. Many of the items on LinkedIn, they are a character max amount. So 120 is the max count. So if you're trying to save space, I think it's a good tip there at the bottom for multiple roles or skills. You can always divide those things in your headline by either the backslash or the line instead of the and, where you're taking up multiple characters and or multiple letters. Another aspect of LinkedIn, and this is also in your profile settings, you can actually change your URL to actually call out your last name, first name if you wish. So it's just an added extra personal touch. And it also becomes something that as you copy and paste it, or if someone finds you on LinkedIn, they're going to see where your name is actually part of the URL. Again, it's not a necessity. LinkedIn will automatically provide you a random number or a random identification number, but you can go in and make those changes as well to personalize it just a bit more. So we'll start out with the top. So with LinkedIn, we're looking at adding a photo. So obviously you want the photo to be the best representation of you. So that could be defined by the industry you want to go into. It could be defined by, again, your personal brand. The image should be a simple square image, and it's just really framing up your face for the most part. You want to make sure, if at all possible, that you have that smile. Show it off. Show the personality to some extent. This is your only opportunity in this still photograph to show some of that personality that you have. Background images, really tone down background images. Ensure that the background images are monochromatic, and or blurred in the background, just so that you actually have yourself being the front and center. The other thing that I will talk about in regards to the photo is don't have your hand kind of like blocked off, because the last photo you had that's on your phone is you put your arm around your best friend or your partner or whatever it may be. Again, frame it up as it's just you. I think an opportunity that you may have in your full-time work and or in internships, a lot of organizations, and we're one of those, during our capstone projects, in our intern capstone, we actually bring a professional photographer in to give headshots. So take advantage of those things. If the organization you do an internship with, or you actually move into an organization in a full-time role and they offer it, take advantage of it. But until then, basic background, smile so it's not a mugshot, and then just upload it.
Chris, there have been a couple of questions about your last slide, if I could jump in.
Sure.
The first question, in regards to a LinkedIn headline, should we stay serious with our headline or add some personality to it?
Personality is good, but you want it measured. So
what's going on, guys? It's your boy Dignified 2K. We're back.
Sorry about that. Go ahead, Chris.
That's all right. So you do want to have it as professional as possible. If you can put a little bit of humor or a little bit of your personality in there, that's fine. But really, if you're going to, what I would suggest is you use somebody as a sounding board to say, okay, how does this read? So whether it be somebody at Career Services, a parent, it could be one of your best buddies. Ask them, how does this read? How would this come across if you just landed on it?
Excellent. Thank you. And the second question, why is LinkedIn a necessity in today's job market?
Yeah, and I'll show here towards the end, I'll do a little demo as far as how the recruiters actually use it. But LinkedIn is really it's the premier space for companies to go to source candidates and to source talent for their organization. And I can tell you, I have 21 individuals on my team, and the 18 individuals that are traditional recruiters, they're on LinkedIn pretty much the entire day. Besides our applicant tracking system where people actually just apply and their profile comes into the system, they're out there looking for individuals. So they're looking for people that may not have applied for a role. We may be looking for very specific skill set. And that's one of the things we'll talk about here in a little bit is how do you put those kind of pieces of information, those keywords or those hot words out there on your LinkedIn profile so you get caught and you get picked by recruiters as they're sourcing.
Okay, we're caught up on questions. Thank you, Chris.
Cool.
Actually, Chris and Jason, I had a question directed towards me privately in the chat, but I think, Chris, I'd love to hear your opinion on it. The question was, are companies allowed to request our social media accounts to be unprivated or public for your application process?
I have known of organizations that have, and that's where I'll put it.
We do not.
We do not. I have had individuals tell me that they have in their past had companies ask them, and it's actually part of their process, and they have a sign-off sheet and they've gone through all of the red tape. I will tell you, DHL is not one of those organizations. Cool. All right, the summary section. I think the summary section is pretty self-explanatory. There is a 2,000 character limit to it, and really provides you an opportunity to put an overview of who you are. So it's a little bit more than that 120 headliner character that you had at the top. So it gives you an opportunity to give a little bit more of that elevator speech. It may not be the entire elevator speech, but what is it really you want to get across to that recruiter and or individual that you're wanting to connect with in the long run? And then the next piece is going to be talking around education and how we get education on there and what's important. And with that, I'll actually kick it over to Cait because she deals with this all the time with the college recruiting.
Thanks, Chris. So like Chris said, on our team specifically, predominantly the talent acquisition, so the traditional recruiters spend a lot of their time on LinkedIn. The college recruiting team doesn't as much just because we get access to a lot of our candidates through, on-campus presentations and career fairs. However, it is a really good tool when we are looking to maybe look for someone really specific with like a certain skill set or major, or we're trying to fill more of like a hard to fill location role. So it is definitely something a tool campus recruiters will still use. And I'm sure other teams outside of DHL and my team probably use it maybe a little bit more. So for your education, you want to make sure that your majors and minors are included as those are searchable. And that is definitely something that recruiters will be looking for specifically. Again, from a DHL perspective, it's not that we are looking for only one major, but there are just tend to be, specific majors that do well or at least have more interest in our roles. So for example, I've mentioned that we're warehousing and distribution. So a graphic design major or a multimedia major may not be actually interested in my role. So it's not that that person wouldn't be qualified or that they couldn't fill my role, but I'm probably looking for someone that's on more of like a traditional business type of major. So that's what I'm going to look for. Consider adding different key courses. So if you have skills that you've learned through a specific key course, or maybe you are looking for more of a technical role, this is a great add. So for example, when we're looking at specific IT roles, Dayton is one of the programs that we look at because we know by the time you're a junior, you actually have taken specific courses that are going to fit the needs of our internship program. Along with that, Ohio University, Indiana University, those are two other schools that if I'm looking at a student's resume, especially for that IT role, I'm going to be looking for some of those courses. You can definitely add study abroad, especially if you find it applicable to your major or to what you've been learning. And if you have really good information about, things that you learned about yourself, ways in which you maybe became more independent or a leader, a study abroad example is a really good example as well to bring up in an interview or in a conversation. So definitely have that included in your profile. I specifically with the college recruiting team here at DHL, we look a lot for outside activities, including on-campus clubs, a fraternity or sorority, a business fraternity organization, a sports team, etc. We're looking for that extracurricular activity because we're also looking specifically for leadership. So if you have been, a leader in one of the clubs that you are part of, definitely include that, as that is a great way for us to bring up in an interview that we've seen previous leadership experience, as well as it's showing different skills that maybe some of your peers wouldn't have because they don't have that formalized leadership experience specifically. I've already mentioned in terms of skills and expertise how you can add specific coursework to kind of help highlight the different skills you've learned through your academics. Make sure when you are adding specific skills that you're using different keywords. And you can find keywords by looking at profiles of others. So maybe referencing individuals you know that already work in the field that you're looking for. You can also look at job descriptions. So if you really want to work for a specific company, or again, you know of a job title that might fit your skill set or is an aspirational job title for you, look at those and see what kind of descriptors you can get and see then what kind of skills that you have that fit those descriptors. And in terms of endorsements, I think the best way to get an endorsement is to give an endorsement, right? So by endorsing your peers that either you've been in a student organization with or that you interned with, in turn, that can kind of help you get endorsements. And really, that's kind of an above and beyond type of part of your profile. Skills is great. I'd rather see in your experience the way you've used your skills, but it's always nice to see a reference point of what you feel that you can do and bring to the job, and then it's also an added kind of cherry on top when others have endorsed you for those specific skills.
Kate, I think a lot of students struggle writing the summary section on the
Mhm.
profile, and this student just asked the question, what would be the most important information for me to put into the summary section on my LinkedIn profile?
Chris, please feel free to add in. I would say that what type of role or type of industry you're looking to go into is important. So that way I know if I'm on your profile, if you're even open to an opportunity that I could potentially have, as well as specific experiences or skills that you think you bring to the table. So Chris mentioned it, but whatever you would have in like an elevator pitch in terms of who you are, what highlights you have from your background, and then what you would like to do with your experience would be what I would include in a summary.
I would agree with that. I mean, I think the summary can be thought of as like the objective on a resume of years past. And quite honestly, my response to an objective on your resume is get rid of it, because your objective is to get a job. So take advantage of the summary to do what Cait just said, which is who are you and really what is it you're looking for, not necessarily to get the job.
So moving forward, if there's no other questions about that or ones that we want to answer right now, brings us to recommendations, which I'm going to kind of have the same tone for recommendations as I do for endorsements. And you can 100% ask for recommendations. Good people to ask are, part-time employer. So if you had a job over the summer or a job during the school year, it's great to have a recommendation from your manager in that role, an internship manager, an advisor from that student organization, or an advisor in like a career services center or something like that are all good people to get recommendations. You can also give recommendations to hopefully then get them as well, maybe from some of your peers. And the slide says try to have one for at least one for every job or co-op or internship. That's a really good goal. And it definitely will help kind of bring extra credibility to the strengths and the skills that you're listing to see other people have endorsed those and will give you as a recommendation. But again, this is just kind of an above and beyond a way to make your profile stand out, and always something that's great, but not necessarily something that's always looked at by a recruiter. So just keep that in mind. Another above and beyond way to kind of help yourself stand out is showing examples of your work. I would highly, highly recommend this for anyone who is going into some sort of multimedia, graphic, marketing, etc. type of industry or wanting to, especially when the work that you are able to show is probably non-proprietary. So maybe you've done it on campus, you're wanting to go into marketing and you helped create, a promotional video for an on-campus organization or for a charity fundraiser or something like that. Definitely include something like that to show the skills that you have. This might get a little bit more difficult for those that are in like a business discipline, just because sometimes it's hard to show what type of classwork that maybe you've done. And I'm not familiar, but if Dayton has like a core project or a capstone project that you have to complete as part of the business program, as long as the information is showable to the public by the company you're partnering with, include stuff like that. It's again another way for a recruiter to get to know a little bit about you, to see the type of work that you've actually produced. But of course, make sure that whatever you are using is either your own or you have the permission of the company that you partnered with to share it, and it's not any information that they wouldn't want out in a public space. So, for example, we have a capstone project as part of our internship. If an intern would like to post their portion of the project or their final project to an example of their work on LinkedIn, we would obviously want them to check with their manager in case there's any type of customer information that's included.
Cait, and we do offer that. In fact, every major has a senior capstone requirement regardless of the academic program. And I have a question based on your previous slide. This student wonders, is there such a thing as too many recommendations on LinkedIn?
I wouldn't say there's a thing as too many recommendations. I would say that you want quality over quantity. And I would be looking for individuals that know you really well, that worked with you in maybe a relevant field or a relevant role, because those are going to have a larger impact to have only one or two of those versus 5 to 10 from everyone that has ever managed you ever.
Very good. Yeah, I agree. I've not seen that problem. Perfect. So a really great way, and Chris has already mentioned this, to kind of keep up and engaged with LinkedIn is to connect and follow different groups and companies. So first and foremost, you may not have known this, this is something I recently found out within the last year, is there are different professional groups on LinkedIn that you can join that are not just for recruiters to find you, but also for your professional development. So another way that you can actually utilize LinkedIn to help yourself outside of just finding a job, but actually helping yourself build that network as well as, learn something new about the profession. So you can search these professional groups to figure out, if you are interested in engineering, if you happen to be part of a group that specializes, maybe it's like females in business or females in accounting, you can get really specialized and find that community on LinkedIn. I also recommend following the companies that you are interested in, not only to help maybe find more information about the roles that they're posting, but also what they're doing. If you're interested in working for DHL, I would recommend that you follow DHL Supply Chain on LinkedIn so that way you can see what we're posting about and what's important or what we feel is important into our in our industry. And of course, you appear as that interest. So you've got an interest in us, you've got an interest in the industry. That always goes a really long way.
And if I can add to that, Cait, as a recruiter, and I'll show this in a little bit, but there's a function in LinkedIn that lets me know if you're a follower of the organization. So as a recruiter's looking, they may look at the candidates that they're wanting to source by that priority first. So let me look at the ones that are already engaged in our brand and then kind of look at other candidates as well. So it's important to have kind of that connection. The other side of having some of those professional group interactions, you may find some up-to-date information that you can take into an interview. You can take into a classroom. You can take into a business and be like, yeah, I just recently heard about X, Y, or Z, and be able to start up that conversation. And that just shows that you're more up to date and that you're really able to take that information and then apply it during a conversation or what you're wanting to do down the road.
So one of the easiest and best ways to be an active user on LinkedIn is to engage with those people that you're following, to engage with the people you're connected with and the companies that you are looking to find more information about. This is something that I tell my business partners to do to help stay connected with you all. So, when they go on campus, I want them to follow their alma mater. I want them to mention that they are speaking with students from this specific university, or share about their experience when they, previously were actually able to visit on campus. And that's just a way to kind of keep their feed up to date, as well as an easy way then for you to find and connect with them, for them to extend their network, and for us to, have a larger presence when it comes to, the population that's in college right now. So I encourage you to comment on the posts of others. If you have a friend that gets a job, congratulate them. If you see a family friend who works for a company in the industry that you're interested in, post an article, read the article and reshare it and make your own comment about it. Share when you get an internship, or share when your capstone project is finished, or when you get a job. And make sure that when you are sharing from others, you're adding your own thoughts, because that helps with the LinkedIn algorithm, helps put it at the top of your feed, helps put it at the top of other feeds, and also just helps it appear more. So these are two really good examples on the screen. So you can see here we had a student talk about how he accepted an offer in an industrial engineering internship this summer from one of my colleagues. So he actually tagged Naya, who's on my team. And then Chris here actually just liked it. So Chris saw that because Naya was tagged in it, because DHL supply chain was tagged in it. And so that came up on his feed. He isn't necessarily actually connected with the student. So it's a great way to kind of add additional exposure. And then here on the left-hand side, or the left side of that original picture, is something that DHL posts about. So we actually have a podcast called All Business, No Boundaries. And so by liking it or by following the company, you have access to that material. And that is something you easily could listen to or read about and then reshare. So next, we kind of want to talk about creating a LinkedIn network, which may feel intimidating, as well as kind of hard to figure out where to start. So first things first is think about the individuals that you are already connected with in real life, and how you could potentially expand that into your LinkedIn network. So first, for family. I'm connected with my father on LinkedIn. He is in the manufacturing industry. I am in the supply chain industry. Obviously, we're in different roles, but that is a great connection for me to have. And actually, through that, I got connected with someone who worked at DHL before I even interviewed with them, because his former boss had actually transitioned over to DHL. So that was just a really easy connection that I never knew I would have, but it was through somebody who I was not worried about connecting with on LinkedIn. My dad's going to accept my invitation to connect. So easy place to start is with family, as well as friends. Maybe you have a friend whose father or mother or brother or sister is involved in the industry that you're in. You can obviously get connected with your professors as well as your advisors. And that just helps create it from an internal standpoint. And like Chris said, it starts with you, and then you connect with 8 people, and that connects you with 16, and then it connects you with 24, and kind of just keeps rolling from there. Another great tool, which actually Jason turned Chris and I onto, is the Alumni tool. So you can actually go to the URL at the top of the screen, so linkedin.com/school. And specifically for all of you, you can go to the University of Dayton and you can search for alumni. So if you are relocating to a specific area, if you're looking to work potentially at a specific company, or you're interviewing with that company, you can actually go into this tool and search for alumni based on where they live and where they work. And on the next slide, I think it actually shows you as well where you can search for them by what they do and what they studied. So I got on here and found different individuals from my alma mater, both of my alma maters actually, and found, who lives in Columbus, who's currently in the supply chain industry, what individuals are working in roles that I would potentially want to work in the future. And I've actually now shared this with my friends who are looking for new opportunities about how they could utilize this to really utilize the connections from our alma mater. First and foremost, make sure when you are looking for people to connect and you are looking to connect with new people or reach out to individuals that you are being professional. So what does that mean? That means all of the things that we've just said. You've got a built out LinkedIn profile. Your headshot is a professional headshot that clearly states, who you are and shows a little bit of your personality, as well as making sure that all of the connections that you're trying to make are intentional. Chris mentioned it at the top of the presentation, but you don't have to connect with every single person you interview with or every single person you meet. You want to make sure that you do have some discretion in terms of who you're trying to connect with. Do you know the person, or does the person have some type of connection to you or what you potentially want to do? And when you're reaching out, you're introducing yourself, you're letting them know why you're connecting with them, and you're making it more of a personal connection. You wouldn't walk up to someone in person and stick out your hand and say, add me to your LinkedIn profile. You would walk up, you would stick your hand out and say, hi, I'm Cait. I work as a college recruiter at DHL Supply Chain and I went to X school. That's why I'm reaching out to you. And so think about it that way. I think being behind a screen, especially the last year, has made those interpersonal interactions feel less and less important or feel less and less authentic. And you always want to make sure that you are stepping forward with as much authenticity as you can, especially if you're reaching out to a recruiter or to a hiring manager. The amount of direct messages I get or connections I get from students who don't even go to a school that we attend or aren't studying something that I am potentially interested in can be really difficult for me to sift through, because a connection is great, but if I can't help them, find a role or get connected with our company in a meaningful way, then that connection just ultimately at the end of the day isn't as meaningful as maybe another one could be.
Speaking of connections, Cait, are my faculty members appropriate to reach out to on LinkedIn?
I think it depends on the relationship that you have with the faculty member. I think that if you are interested in getting to know them more, or you are currently taking a class with them, I think it is appropriate to. LinkedIn is a professional space, so hopefully what you're posting and how you're presenting yourself is a professional manner. For example, I would feel more comfortable being connected to a faculty member on LinkedIn than I would on like my Instagram account. So I think that is definitely appropriate. But again, it comes down to your connection with them. If it's a faculty member that you've never talked to, you're not even in the same school in which they teach, then think about, why are you trying to connect with them? And then make sure when you do, you're customizing the invitation to tell them why you're reaching out and why you're trying to connect with them. I am way more likely to connect with the student if there is a personal message included in the invitation about why they're reaching out to me, what they're interested in, or what they noticed on my profile that they think would be a good connection for us, than just someone who sends a random LinkedIn request. Chris, do you have something to add?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Are you the next slide? Is that what I'm good at gathering? Okay, perfect. Well, then I'm going to pass it back over to Chris.
So we just wanted to talk through some of the using LinkedIn to find a job. So kind of you've gone through, you set up your profile, you have your professional brand online, you're networking with individuals that starting out small and kind of going from there. So now how would you use it to find a job? Or more importantly, we'll pull the curtain back and show you how a recruiter uses it to find you that's out there. So, each one of you has probably already been on LinkedIn. You see that the jobs are out there. And if you go into LinkedIn, you quite honestly can go in, look at the job section, type in a company that you're looking at, and type in any specific skills and or your zip code you would prefer to be at. That's the quick and easy way to look into LinkedIn jobs, understanding that not every job is posted on LinkedIn. Quite honestly, Indeed has probably the largest market right now in regards to job search engines that's out there, and that's where a majority of companies tend to get their applicants. However, from a professional or a certain level inside the organization, that's where LinkedIn is going to come in. So LinkedIn in many cases are going to be your management levels, your professional levels, your director, VPs. You aren't going to see a lot of hourly roles, and you probably won't see a lot of supervisory roles on LinkedIn, although it is an option for that. Again, it's what are you targeting? Which specific area, which specific title, profession are you actually targeting? And that's where LinkedIn would come into play. One of the other things that we wanted to show was really just kind of around a recruiter. So I'm going to go in here real quick and show you what a recruiter sees on the back end. So this is a search actually that I've been part of for one of our global roles. And with this, we go in as a recruiter and we start a job profile and a job title. When I go in, I have on this far left-hand side multiple filters that I can use to actually start looking at the skills, the keywords, locations, schools, all kinds of things. And basically I'm taking a population of, let's say, 10,000 people for a specific job, and I'm trying to narrow it down by the specifics that we need as an organization and the right fit. So I may be looking for specific job titles. So I want individuals that are currently in a director role. I could put manager because I might be looking at an up and coming individual that has quite honestly been a manager for a while and probably has enough experience that really could and should be a director and could be a director inside of our organization. So I'm going to put some job titles in this area. I'm going to go into specific locations. I could go to geographic locations in regards to the organization. So I might want to say, hey, I need individuals that are just in the United States, or I might be searching for Southern California and I don't have a relocation option that the company can actually pay for. So I want local talent. So I'm going to be looking at that specific geographic location to be able to source specific talent. I can go down and look for specific companies. So I might be looking at companies, and these are more traditional hires as opposed to a college recruit, because you may not have experience with some of the companies. However, if you've had an internship with IBM, with Coyote, with DHL, you know what? You're going to have that company on your resume and you're going to have it on your profile. So it's going to come up. It's going to pick up as a search. If I want to ensure that I'm pulling the best, I'm going to put University of Dayton and I'm going to type that in as a school and where I want individuals from to be able to apply, and I want to actually research and I want to speak to. So I can actually even go down to the level of school. And you guys kind of get the idea. What I'm doing is I'm trying to create a pipeline based on some criteria. And there's an advanced search option, and there's just a ton of options here. If I wanted to start talking about individuals that have different languages that they speak, I could search that. And again, it's all based on how you have created your profile. What keywords have you used? So if I go back to my actual filtered search, you're going to see where I had a keyword of change management. Well, this individual put change management in their profile. It's one of their keywords. It picked up. You're going to see where a director of operations, that was one of the titles, and that was an actual title that the person had inside of their profile. You're going to see a lot of these things that pop up. Here's the company. I was actually looking for the specific company. So again, your profile and how you set it up is going to aid in a recruiter finding you based on your skill sets and based on what you're looking for. We have a lot of individuals on my team that look for specialty roles. So industrial engineers, quality, safety, data analytics. We have a lot of those type of roles that we need to fill across the country and in Canada. They'll go in and put those type of keywords inside of this search function. Based on my search function, you'll see I had 387 different individuals that popped up in this search. I've had 81 people actually apply to the role because I did have it posted on LinkedIn. It also gives me an opportunity to look at a pipeline, and I can see where individuals actually are put into that pipeline that I'm going to reach out to down the road. So I've looked at resumes, I've looked at profiles, and I'm going to go ahead and put them in this pipeline to follow up later on. One of the things I didn't talk about earlier when we're talking about putting your profile on, I would suggest that if you're looking for a role, specifically the very first time, upload a resume. Because as a recruiter, what I can do is I don't have to reach out to you. I can find out more about you because your resume should have a little bit more detail in it than what your actual profile does, but I can see all the information I need. Now, when I say upload your resume, I'm going to put a little bit of a caveat. don't upload it with your phone number and your address unless you want that public, because understand, once it's out there, it's public for everyone to see. However, there is a function in LinkedIn under the profile that you can put your phone number for contact. So if you want a recruiter to contact you, you can put your phone number there. Or on your resume, go ahead and put your email address, because then we can reach out to you directly through your email address, your personal email address, or we'll send you in-mails. Either way, we'll track you down basically, and we'll be able to reach out to you. But what I would suggest is to add your resume, because it is a great way for you to continue that brand and continue to provide that opportunity for individuals to reach out to you. So again, I wanted just to share this with you guys on the back end to just understand why it's important that you're setting up that profile and why we're talking about this today. It's not because we want you to look good online, which we do, but we also want you to be able to find your job by using some words that we know the recruiters are going to be looking for as well. And that's going to bring you into this type of list that you're going to see here on the right-hand side for us to be able to reach out to and hopefully fill one of our positions or many positions at DHL. Or if you choose to go somewhere else, obviously, that's another opportunity, because there are many, many organizations that are looking for talented people to come in and help them for the next 5, 10, 20 years. So then the last part of this, the job applicants, really the follow-up, the recruiter will reach out to you. So once somebody does apply in LinkedIn, a recruiter will reach out to you if they feel that you're a fit and if your skills fit what they're looking for that specific role. And it doesn't have to be that you've applied to that role. It could be just as I showed you, where we're actually sourcing and we're actually going after and having a conversation with you. Make sure that your voicemail is set up and you have your name in your voicemail if at all possible, or just simply have your voicemail set up. There's often times where, the college recruiting team specifically, or even the traditional recruiting team, will call individuals and their voicemail is not set up, or it's full, or it's a voicemail that really isn't professional and it isn't brand. So again, if you're wanting that great brand experience online, make sure your voicemail is very similar. I did talk about your email address. This is one thing that I think from a college student's perspective, you guys use an email address at the university for a lot of your communication. However, when you graduate, it may not be a bad idea to start utilizing your personal email, because you may not tie yourself back to that university email. And so what we find is we will reach out to candidates, and unfortunately, because they don't monitor their university email any longer, we can't get in contact with them. Or we eventually found them through LinkedIn and they're like, oh, you know what, I don't use it anymore. I should have changed that. So just kind of be aware of that for those of you that are graduating and what you're putting out there as far as the contact information. And then finally, just call and email back when appropriate with the amount of time that you have. So again, if you're not interested in a role any longer, that's fine. Just let somebody know. It's one less conversation you'll get. So unlike the car warranty phone calls that everybody's getting right now, and you can't tell them not to call you back, you can at least tell a recruiter, I'm not interested, you don't need to call me back. And it's one less phone call you'll have to worry with. So hopefully that provided you guys an overview for what to really look at on LinkedIn, your profile, how to build it, really some of that networking opportunities that Caitlin talked about, as well as how really a recruiter looks at it on the back end and how we find you through some of the keywords and some of the information that you're putting in there. So hopefully next steps will be better looking profiles, and internships and or full-time roles are coming your way. I'll hand it back over to Jason, see if there's any questions or anything you guys would like to add.
Well, thank you very much, Chris. I've really enjoyed this presentation from both you and from Cait. I'll point out that our information's on the screen there on this slide, and we also welcome your feedback on this and all workshops that we offer through the Aviate Path program, and I put a link to that survey in the chat, and please take a moment and fill that out. Only 3 quick questions. We'd really appreciate your feedback. A couple of more questions have come into the chat, and we've got a couple of minutes to answer them. So first question for either Chris or for Cait. A question about previous jobs and my LinkedIn profile. Would you say that it's better for me to show jobs that have been part-time for a short amount of time? In other words, do I share more in terms of quantity or focus on fewer jobs that I've held in the past, which would be a quantity response?
Okay, you want to take first stab or you want me to?
You can.
So I think having your jobs on there, it's important just to know that you've had a history of work. And I think that's the important piece. And most college students are going to have summer and or short break jobs. And I think that's okay. Sometimes you can kind of group that. So let's say you work at DHL, during a season, during a year. Well, you just group it to make it look like it's one job, but you'll give different dates on there as well. So it's just the way you present it. But I, again, would much rather see that somebody's had multiple opportunities to really work in the workforce and understand really what they do and what they don't want, quite honestly. So I would go with not necessarily quality or quantity, but I would go for the quality of what you are listing.
I don't have anything to add.
I agree. Thank you. We had a Dayton focused question come in the chat that I can answer. And the question was basically, does our University of Dayton email address expire after graduation? And the answer to this question, which ties into Chris's feedback, is that it does expire, and it expires approximately 6 months after your date of graduation, give or take a few weeks. So if you are a senior who's a job seeker right now, you may want to take up Chris on his advice and list perhaps a professional sounding Gmail address on your resume to make it easy for someone to contact you.
I like the addition of the professional Gmail address. I have seen way too many that probably should not be email addresses have come through. So good call out on that one.
Thank you, Chris. A question for either of you again. Is it professional to send a thank you note over LinkedIn, or should that be done over email or traditional mail?
I can answer.
Sure.
I think it's appropriate in any way, and as long as the follow-up message is given within an appropriate amount of time. I'll be totally honest, I live and die by my inbox, and LinkedIn can kind of get pushed to the side for me, but I've already expressed our team is not on LinkedIn as maybe as much as some traditional recruiters are. So I think however you've been in communicating with the recruiter, a LinkedIn message is appropriate and professional as is an email. I love that someone looped in like actually writing a thank you note, because I love stationery and I love writing actual thank you notes, which I don't know if Chris remembers, but I definitely wrote handwritten thank you notes after my interview with DHL. I don't know if that had an impact on anything, but it made me feel better. So I mean, if you want to, you definitely can send a handwritten letter as well.
And I would echo that. I think, a handwritten is great. Unfortunately, in the world we are today, a lot of people are working from home as opposed to the office, so they may never see it. So I would say for the foreseeable future, LinkedIn and or through email are probably your better options to ensure that you do get that connection and that kind of like tying of the bow at the very end.
Very good. Well, we're down to about a minute. Let me close by giving Cait or Chris another opportunity to maybe offer a final thought or to plug opportunities with DHL supply chain.
I can plug. I'm shameless.
Yeah, I know. Go ahead.
If you are interested in DHL supply chain and what we potentially have to offer, we do look for individuals that are junior status typically for our internships and senior status for our full-time. You can get a hold of me and I'll type it into the chat. It's collegerecruiting@dhl.com. You can always send a resume, and then myself or my manager, Caitlin, so you'll get an email from a Caitlin either way, we'll be in touch if we think you could be a fit for our opportunities. We also post all of our roles on Handshake.
And I think the other piece to that, just as another shameless plug, I think the 10 to 12 week internship, we had it last year. They were virtual and or a hybrid, and or if you were in one of our sites, you were in person, whereas a lot of organizations were unable to have internships. And I think if you were to come on as a full-time, we do have a 2-year program that we really work with individuals through those 2 years to provide them multiple professional development as well as career development opportunities. And we have a dedicated resource for that as well.
Well, once again, thanks for your comments, both Chris and Cait. Quick plug from our office. If you want to learn more about LinkedIn and in fact use it more from the networking perspective and the alumni to alumni perspective, we're offering a workshop on that this Wednesday at 5 o'clock, also approved for a path point through the Aviate program. We're right at an hour here. I want to be respectful of time. So once again, please offer an enormous Dayton Flyer round of virtual applause for both Chris and Caitlin. Thank you for your time and offering an excellent workshop. We're going to hang out for a second here in the room in case there are any personal questions. But this concludes the workshop. There is no post-workshop form to complete. We are done this evening, and I really appreciate your time and your attention.